Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Alex Elagudin, and I'm the Accessibility Program Manager at the TLC. I have the privilege of working on several accessibility initiatives at the TLC, including the Accessible Dispatch Program, on a tremendous team from our programs unit that brings many accessibility initiatives to life. Accessible transportation has really come a long way in the last few years, especially with accessible taxi service becoming a viable option that has changed the lives for many with disabilities in New York. At the core, getting accessible vehicles on the road and connecting them to people with disabilities is what TLC accessibility initiatives are all about. And today we're adding a major piece to that puzzle. It's really a historic moment that's the culmination of lots of work by the TLC and disability advocates to make this a reality. From the pilot in 2012 to citywide expansion today, we've come a long way. And it's really the cultural shift in attitudes of our fellow citizens that has helped us get here and accepting that disability and serving those with disabilities is part of what everyday service should be. Now with that, I'd like to introduce someone who has really been a true champion in moving the needle forward in accessibility, someone who it is a privilege to work for every day and with, someone who is passionate and a true leader and has really brought accessible service from something that is specialized to an everyday norm in the industry. And now I introduce TLC Commissioner Meera Joshi.
Good morning. So this is an exciting city, it's a bustling city, it's a prospering city, and it extends well beyond Manhattan. The 5 boroughs are buzzing with activity 24/7. Living or visiting this great city and not being able to fully partake in all that it has to offer and not being able to meaningfully contribute to its culture and community has been the stark and bleak reality for so many for a long time, for the very simple and very real reason that people who use wheelchairs cannot move around our great city with anything near the ease that the rest of us enjoy. This past summer was dubbed the summer of hell as subway delays, breakdowns interrupted our daily commutes. For those who used wheelchairs, that hell would have been heaven, because everyday journeys involving public transportation are convoluted as they struggle to find stations with elevators that are working, and far from spontaneous as they often have to schedule 24 hours in advance a trip for which they will be given a 3-hour pickup window. Today, I'm really happy to announce that we're making significant strides towards a new and more mobile reality for our New York residents and visitors who use wheelchairs. Today, we are launching a citywide accessible dispatch service to connect passengers who need accessible taxi service with the vehicles that can provide it. Accessible dispatch has been available in Manhattan and has successfully provided service there for several years. Today's expansion is an important recognition that we are a city of 5 boroughs. I applaud the staff of the TLC who've put in more hours than anyone can imagine, working out detail after detail to get this off the ground. The details matter, and their attention and dedication is why we are here today. I want to thank our partners, MTM, for embracing our initiative, our city, and our accessible taxis, their drivers, and passengers. And I want to thank the tireless advocates who've demanded service and supported us on the rocky road to get there, and yes, there are many more bumps ahead. I want to especially thank the many drivers who've gone above and beyond to provide excellent service to our passengers who use wheelchairs, and the many more to come. Through this expansion and other important TLC accessibility initiatives, it's very, very possible that soon, throughout the city, the daily experience for taxi and for-hire passengers who use wheelchairs is that ready, available, and accessible transportation is just a tap or a call away. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'd like to now introduce my fellow commissioner, Commissioner Thomas Sorrentino, to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning to everyone. I'm very pleased to be here this morning. Just for everyone who's here, I'm new to the commission. I joined in the fall of 2017, and in the short while that I've been on board, it's been really an honor and privilege to work with such professionals at the commission. And I want to applaud Commissioner Joshi for her leadership and the TLC staff for the tireless work they've done. This, again, is just a first step in the process of expanding accessibility to the entire city and making the transportation system in our city what it should be and for the rest of the world. So I'm just happy to be here, and I applaud everyone for all the efforts, and I'm looking forward to working with the team going forward. Thank you, and good morning.
Next up, we have a man that needs little introduction. He is the force and the heart on much of the cultural shift within city government and has made incredible strides in making New York City a more accessible place for those with disabilities. So here is the Commissioner for the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, Victor Calisi.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Alex. Before I start, I want to thank TLC Commissioner Mira Joshi for our tireless advocacy in ensuring that those with disabilities get the equal treatment in TLC's yellow and green taxi fleet, as well as the for-hire vehicle fleet. So thank you, Mira, for everything that you do. This equity stays true to Mayor de Blasio's commitment to those who are underserved. And I also want to thank the entire TLC staff that has made days like today possible, especially Alex Elagudin, whose work inside the TLC has proven to be educational, collaborative, and pioneering. No wonder why he has been named New Mobility's Magazine Person of the Year. So yeah, I do have the magazine right here. I'd also like to thank TLC Commissioner Tom Sarantino and former Commissioner Frank Carone for leading accessibility initiatives that get us here today. And last night, as I was reflecting on my involvement with accessible taxis, I realized that I was involved longer than I'd actually like to admit. It was sometime after I returned from the Paralympic Games in Nagano, Japan, the year 1998. I was working for Eastern Paralyzed Veterans Association, one of the groups that started the push for accessible taxi, and the legendary Terry Moakley had asked me to be involved in protesting for accessible taxis at Madison Square Garden. And we were sitting in front of taxi stands protesting, and I remember feeling totally out of place, even embarrassed, since there wasn't even one taxi that was accessible to me. But I guess that was the very reason why we were there. Then I remember the first time that TLC put together the first dispatch program, and I was so impressed that a taxi came in 60 minutes. And I was blown away at the ease it was to make that call and actually plan a trip ahead of time. But several times after that, I tried it and it failed. And boy, have times changed. As we have steadily increased yellow taxis on the street and implemented an accessible dispatch via phone, 311, internet, and app-based, I've consistently watched and experienced wait times decrease to as little as 3 minutes for some trips. This service has proven to increase the quality of life of getting people to and from work, which is true to our NYC Work initiative. Get people to schools, hospital visits, and for fun and entertainment. And I vividly remember critics saying that there aren't many people with disabilities that will use accessible taxis, and people with disabilities cannot afford it. Well, I think we've proven people wrong, because ridership has increased by tenfold since 2012, with 8,000 trips last month alone, and this number continues to increase. Just imagine what those numbers will look like with this accessible dispatch expansion. Before today's launch, people with disabilities in the outer boroughs did not have the same access to accessible taxis, often being left behind. This is crazy, since the highest number of people with disabilities happen to reside in Brooklyn, followed by Queens, and then Manhattan. The great thing about today is that inequity is no longer going to happen. Accessible dispatch run by MTM will level the field and actually bring balance to the force by allowing those in the boroughs to access accessible taxis on the streets and in their neighborhoods. Being a lifelong New Yorker and originally from the great borough of Queens, I'm happy that disabled individuals from the outer boroughs can now get a wheelchair accessible taxi whenever they choose. By expanding accessible dispatch, we will create jobs for people with disabilities, which we have with MTM alone, increase a market that is traditionally untapped, and drivers are earning more tips and wages. With our approach on accessible taxis, there is no other city in the country that is more aggressive than ours. New York City and TLC are leading the charge. So thank you for helping us make New York City the most accessible city in the world, and I look forward to getting an accessible dispatch in the outer boroughs. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor, for your true leadership. Next up, we'd like to introduce from our partner and vendor who operates the program, MTM. It's been through a rigorous RFP process. MTM was selected as our vendor. We've worked with them for over a year through many challenges, programmatic, technological, and otherwise, and they have pushed through to get us here today. So I'd like to introduce Chris Kruper, the program manager for MTM.
Thank you, Alex. And good morning, everyone. I'm Chris Cooper, and I'm the Accessible Dispatch Program Director for MTM. And we work and we operate the program closely with the TLC. We're so excited to be here today. Personally, as a native New Yorker and a former city employee, the needs of New Yorkers are near and dear to my heart. I have worked closely with all of our partners to bring the Accessible Dispatch program to the 5 boroughs for my first day with MTM in 2016. MTM began in 1995 and is a family-run organization that now operates nationwide. We have facilities in 26 states and DC. We currently operate 11 call centers and employ over 2,000 employees. Our New York facility is located here in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, where I was born and raised. MTM is excited to be collaborating with the TLC on such an important program which makes our city more equitable. Through this new program, we have been able to work closely with the taxi industry to fulfill the growing need for more accessible transportation throughout the 5 boroughs. Most excitingly, we have brought out-of-borough service to the far reaches of the city. During the initial few months, MTM has spoken with over 2,500 drivers, and we've completed over 20,000 trips. MTM has dedicated staff members directly working with the program on site in Sunset Park from all different backgrounds, including people with disabilities. Our employees reflect the cultural background and the needs of the people the program serves. We have also been working with various groups, such as independent care systems, to reach New Yorkers and get the word out about the new service. We're excited to continue to grow with the program with the TLC and our other partners. We believe we are shaping the future of the taxi industry and creating a sustainable model for accessible transportation. Through our work with the TLC on Accessible Dispatch Program, we are continuing our vision of breaking down barriers and promoting independence for all New Yorkers. So if you would kindly join me and face the monitors, we have a short clip.
When you use a wheelchair, meeting up with your girls can be a challenge. But now, there's another way with the Accessible Dispatch Program. Our new service area allows you to order an accessible taxi from anywhere, on demand or in advance. So you can travel to and from any of the 5 boroughs with no extra fee. Go for brunch. Shopping. Ice cream. Whatever.
Thank you, Chris. As Commissioner Joshi mentioned, drivers are the true backbone of this program and of all our accessibility initiatives. More drivers are participating in this program than ever before, and providing accessible service is becoming part of a driver's everyday duty. So with that, I would like to introduce one of our drivers who has been a taxi driver for over 40 years and has recently really embraced accessible service. I'd like to introduce Mr. Johnny Trellis.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a taxi driver for 40 years. My name is Johnny Trellis, and I'm working for Accessible Company. And, it's been a great company for us. It provides a lot of revenue for the yellow cab drivers, and at the same time, we provide services to the people with disability. And, it's a great opportunity for us to give service to the people with disability, especially now in the 5 boroughs. And we're here to serve the city with a lot of patience, taking door-to-door service, pick them up at the time, we arrive on time, we take it on time, doctor's office, whatever they need to be done, we're here to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny, and thank you to all the drivers out there. So the true focal point of the program is passengers, and as we've seen, ridership has gone on tremendously. Passengers are able to participate in many greater ways in our society and have new opportunities. And now I'd like to introduce one of the passengers who uses accessible dispatch and has also been a longtime advocate for taxi service and also a true friend. So I welcome Gene Ryan.
How do we do that? Okay. I guess it's not going up. I'll go down. Hi, everyone. I live in Brooklyn. I've lived in Brooklyn for many years, the best borough. But we really couldn't use taxis in Brooklyn because the accessible dispatch was only in Manhattan. So it's so great that now it's in Brooklyn, and we could, in all the boroughs, and wheelchair users can get a ride wherever we are. That is a game changer because we've been stranded so many times in so many ways, and now we have the freedom to go where we need to go, where we want to go. What will make it even better if all the taxis are wheelchair accessible, so we wouldn't have to be choosing from a small amount of cabs, and if all the for-hire vehicles were accessible too, then we would actually have equal access. I just want to quickly say that I had a really bad experience not being able to get to Manhattan, and I know now I will never have a bad experience like that again. But we had a health emergency in our family, and our family member got transferred from a Brooklyn hospital to a Manhattan hospital at night. No buses were running from my neighborhood. I can't take the subway because none are accessible in South Brooklyn. And I didn't know what to do. Like, how can I go? I'm supposed to be helping. It was so frustrating and scary. And how I actually got to Manhattan was my friend came from Howard Beach with her accessible vehicle, picked me up in Bay Ridge and drove me to Manhattan, dropped me off at the hospital, and she drove back home. Well, I really, I was lucky I had a friend who had an accessible van and was available and offered to do it. But we can't count on, unique things like that happening. We have to be able to get a ride just like everybody else. And it's not just for emergencies like that, but that is really important. But, we also want to go to things like plays and shows and work, school, run errands, shop, have fun, go out with friends. So this will be, This will enable us to do that. So I'm glad that this service exists. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. I, like you, have had similar challenging experience, so I definitely relate. So I think I'm going to make some final closing remarks. Then myself and Commissioner Joshi will take some questions from the audience, and then we will open up the side doors, and we have two accessible.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, we have one more speaker. We have Councilmember Lander, who would like to say a few words.
Thanks very much. I'll be very brief because I'm excited for the next steps, but I just want to say thanks to everyone who got us here, to Commissioner Zoshi and her team, to Commissioner Calise and his team. You know, we have a long way to go in making this a truly accessible city, but we've got to get there step by step. So this is a great next step. There's obviously no reason folks in the outer boroughs shouldn't have access to this, and I'm thrilled we're getting there. I want to say a next step I'm really excited about. You know, the mayor is doing all these town halls around the district, and at the town hall in the 39th district, a number of people came out and asked the question about getting to accessible FHVs. And the mayor said, we're doing that soon, and charged the commissioners to really get that moving forward, and I'm excited about that next step. This is just a critical process. This city that we love is so important to open up to everyone. We got a long way to go to get there, and it's great to be taking this step in that direction. So thanks to everybody on the team that pushed for it and everybody on the team that made it happen. It's a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member, and for all your support on accessibility initiatives. So I say again, I'll make some closing remarks. We'll take some questions from the audience, and then we have two accessible taxis outside where we will do a demo where some passengers will go in and out. You'll have an opportunity to see the vehicles and see how drivers assist passengers. So, as both an employee of the TLC and a person with a disability, I have the unique perspective to see both sides. As a TLC employee, I understand the challenges that we face in striving for greater accessibility. Yet I and many others at the TLC work every day to find solutions to improve accessibility. One vehicle at a time, one person at a time, one trip at a time. As a wheelchair user, I have been able to personally see the fruits of our efforts in improved accessible service, and yet at the same time, I see many areas where we need to improve, and I know that the TLC will. And to all the disability advocates out there and wheelchair users who regularly utilize taxis today, your efforts for advocating have not gone in vain, and service has improved and will continue to improve. I hope you continue to advocate for services that you deserve, and we at the TLC continue to welcome your feedback, which has been an integral component of getting us to where we are today. So without further ado, thank you all, and we'll take some questions.